So recently, whilst running errands or just doing chores around the house, I've actually had Alex Meyers' old content just playing in the background because I was genuinely quite curious to see if he was always as terrible as we now see him to be. And the answer to that question is, I believe, yes. It's just because he had never covered a movie as controversial or as, exposing as Obsession, we had never really seen it before. But that doesn't mean that there were wee glimpses or cracks starting to show of both his misunderstanding and inability to actually look at media in a nuanced or critical fashion, but more importantly, sly bits of misogyny and a problematic nature that just wasn't being spoken about yet. And we're gonna get into all of that, of course, in this video here, but before we do, be sure to subscribe to the channel and also hype the video. It's been a while since I asked for some hype, so shoot your hype all over my goddamn pretty little face. Not as pretty today, though. Skin's breaking out a tiny wee bit over there.
And I'm so sorry about that, guys, by the way. I'll try and sort it out.
But obviously, in order to do that, I need money, and you can help out by subscribing to the channel. So just do that and also hype as well. You know, it's not one or the other. You can do both, and you should. Anyway, firstly, one thing I didn't realize about Alex Meyers' channel, which I very quickly found out whilst watching the other stuff, is that the Devil's Tango comment that he made about Nikki in the Obsession review, where he calls a literal SA scene the Devil's Tango. Well, it turns out the Devil's Tango is like a big in-joke on his channel.
Then they do the old
Devil's Tango
in front of the Hollywood sign? Like, okay, if you go within 5 miles of that thing, the police come and arrest you for trespassing. So like the whole shtick or whatever of this show is that Jane here has never done the old
Devil's Tango
before. And then one day gets pregnant, you get the idea. So finally it's time to go on that old ski trip thing. Now Laura Jean's feeling a little uneasy about it because, you know, she's in this fake relationship with Peter, but the ski trip is kind of where all the couples get together and do the old
Devil's Tango.
It really is a bit of horrible foreshadowing for what's to come in the future. In fact, this joke here was such a bit on his channel that he had a podcast titled Doing the Devil's Tango with his ex-girlfriend. This is the one that he didn't marry. And speaking of his ex-girlfriend and previous marriage, he had one of the weirdest announcements that he was single that I've ever seen a YouTuber give ever. So exactly 18 minutes and 50 seconds into a video about Stranger Things, there's like a bit here, it's this. So there's a bit here where there's like a whiteboard, 2016, thinking of giving up YouTube, 2017, engaged, lol, oops, moved back to the US, divorced, and then COVID, and then new girlfriend, and then 2025, single again. This is the genuine announcement, by the way. There was no chat about it beforehand. Like, this is how he announced that the podcast was over and they've broken up. But there's nothing like inherently evil or like horrible about this. I just think it's weird. But regardless, right, that's not too important. That isn't the most important part of this video, right? I would like to show you guys a clip from a Monster High review that people have been talking about a lot recently. In fact, I'll actually give credit to some of the other people that have been speaking about this guy. Here we go. Here's the main one. Crispy's Tavern, Tales and Tea made a super good deep dive into Alex Meyers, about 40 minutes, where they go over some of his old movie takes and also some old bits that we should have seen, like, we should have seen some of the Obsession stuff coming, essentially. Like, there's some real foreshadowing of how horrible the takes were in his Obsession review years back. This video will be different from that one, though, because I watched a lot of Alex Meyers' reviews on movies that I like a lot, because I was genuinely curious to see what his analysis would be like. And the films I'll cover in this video in regards to Alex Meyers aren't films that I've seen anyone else talk about in terms of like his reviews about them, which, by the way, I understand that they're not meant to be reviews. They're like comedy videos surrounding the movie, but they are also reviews. Like, he gives analysis, he gives opinions, especially at the end of the video, he gives like an overall, like, conclusion on what the movie was like. I get it, he tells a lot of jokes, but they are reviews. In fact, I think the whole like, oh no, these videos aren't reviews, they're not meant to be taken that way, is like a really cowardly crutch, to be honest, because all it does is give an excuse, and a bad excuse at that, as to why his takes are always so misguided and ignorant. Like, if he grossly misunderstands a children's movie and is like incapable of realizing what they're going for, or just wasn't paying attention to certain parts of the film and misses stuff because of that, he can just fall back on the excuse of, oh no, I'm not a reviewer, I'm not a critic, I'm just a comedian, I'm just an animator who draws about movies. It's like, no, you're talking about the film, we're allowed to criticize you about your chat about the film, especially when your chat is blatant misogyny, which of course this one's not as bad as the Obsession review. It's a fucking Monster High video, but in some ways that makes the comments I'm about to show you even a little bit weirder.
Our double date is tonight.
Gee, a double date with you, my brother, and some guy I've never met?
Don't be so stubborn. It might be fun. Hey, Ghouls.
Yeah, Mr. Cameraman, what you filming over there, buddy?
What do you mean, like, this is... Okay, look. I'm showing this shot here. Genuinely, what is wrong with this shot? If the camera was angled like 30 degrees up and it was like a straight up upskirt shot or something, maybe I'd see what you're talking about here. But what can we see? We can see an animated doll's calves and then 3 dolls, like their full bodies, I guess. This is not me like virtue signaling or acting naive or anything. I'm not like taking the piss at all here. I, honest to God, do not see anything wrong with this frame. There's nothing suggestive or sexual or inappropriate or anything as to what Alex Myers is implying is wrong here.
Monster High Gen 1, like, all the girls had these, like, insane horse legs with, like, fishnets and the tiniest miniskirts.
Well, they're dolls, aren't they? It's like Barbie, right? They're dolls, and dolls, like, sort of notorious for that, right? It's sort of part of the aesthetic, right?
For a franchise aimed at 10-year-old girls, these characters are like just the entire cast of Euphoria. People always used to criticize Barbie for having unrealistic body proportions, but like, come on. I mean, everyone just looks like if Gumby was even sexier than he already is, you know what I'm saying? Like, even the way they walk, it's like you can tell this is where most of the animation budget went, okay? Anyway, so we flash over to Deuce and Cleo talking about the whole Halloween thing.
Come on, you don't really believe all that stuff about normies, do you?
Yeah, I do.
Wait, hold on. Why is Deuce such a giga chad in this movie? In the remake, he was just this, like, sad anime boy in a beanie. Like, man, they did him real dirty. Also, shout out to all these girls going to school in 9-inch stripper heels. Like, what the heck kind of kids franchise is this?
The heels are long because they're dolls! It's Monster High! They're meant to be a little bit edgy, right? They're monsters. They're not gonna wear, like, Converses, are they? I don't know, I feel like you really have to reach to try and make something sexual out of the shoes or the... Because they're, like, there's not... I just don't get it! Like, he's really reaching here. Alex Myers is why they had to have strict dress codes in schools. He's not done, don't worry.
Everyone's talking about how bad the humans are. What do you know? Someone is already egging the school. So our main characters rush outside to see, wait, Mr. Cameraman, how many times are you gonna show this girl's feet in this movie?
It's just a shot of their lower body fully clothed, and there's not like, it's not inappropriate at all. He's acting like fucking Tarantino directed the Monster High movies. Also, I don't know if this needs to be mentioned, but you are literally freeze framing, and then you're like, oh my god, why did they show it for so long and so often? You already talked about the stripper heels, right? They're big heels. They're like a defining characteristic of the Monster High dolls. It makes sense as to why there might be a little bit more focus on them in like certain shots, like if they're walking quickly or doing a certain type of strut. It really doesn't take a genius to figure it out, and it takes a little bit of a wronging, in my opinion, to try and make something sexual out of it.
There are so many close-ups of these girls' feet and legs. Like, did Dan Schneider make this movie? You know, this whole franchise must have been like a real spring awakening for a lot of young girls, you know, especially since every male character is just the most annoying person you've ever met.
Well, I'm part monster too, Manny. I repeated history once, but that was because I accidentally burned my book.
Just little 12-year-old Sally sitting there watching all the movies like, so these are my dating options for like the rest of my life? Anyway, so some human kids from the other side of town are vandalizing Monster High.
See, look, even 2 years ago, people were like commenting about this. They show their feet so many times because have you seen their shoes? They are stunning. The fashion was everything. They look spectacular. And then people are like, oh, yeah, for real, why are you gonna make it weird? And then here we go, 2 weeks ago. So these people are, this is a post-obsession review. He's still a man, so his thoughts are elsewhere. I'm lesbian and I can control myself and my thoughts about a doll's feet or any real woman's appearance just fine. Mate, honestly, imagine your content being like at such a level that you're getting unironic comments saying Alex is definitely at his peak with the Barbie and Monster High movies. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, how could that even be a comment about your career that anyone unironically makes? Also, just a wee nitpick. I've not seen any Monster High stuff, but neither has Alex. And he sort of complains that he doesn't know anything about the characters in this film or franchise or whatever, but it's like you skipped so many movies to get to this one that you've not seen. It's not really, like, obviously I'm not gonna know what's going on. It's like watching Harry Potter, but starting with the Goblet of Fire and go, who even is this? What? I don't know these people. This movie's shit. The Goblet of Fire is not the first one, right? I hope not. No, it's not. It's not. I know it's not. Still not finished Harry Potter, by the way. I've got the Deathly Hallows. I've got the 2 last ones left. Anyway, I'm going to pin the Alex Myers Monster High conversation there and move on to the infamous Turning Red review. I'm very excited to talk about this one, actually. See, this one's a little bit... Okay, so it's titled, That Time Your Period Destroyed the Whole Town. Now, let's just remember that in the Obsession review, his whole thing was people are not looking at Bear in a nuanced enough fashion, right? There is more to this character than him just being a horrible perv. There's so much more, and people are barely able to comprehend him the way that I understand him. But then... you get Turning Red. I'm not sure if any of you have seen it. I've seen it. I didn't like it very much. But even though I didn't like it, I can acknowledge that the movie is not about periods. It's meant to be like a hyperbolic and artistic depiction of the process of puberty for a young girl. A young Chinese Canadian girl. It all plays into it, right? That's the story. And Alex sort of strips all of the nuance away from this film and goes, movies about periods. That's all it's about. Periods. And the MC of this film, just, big period girl. Everything centers back. All roads lead back to period blood. Oh, and he also says, oh my god, I forgot about this, but this is something that was pointed out in the other video I mentioned. He says that Turning Red paved the way for, like, K-pop movies or something?
Yeah, you know, obviously this movie isn't, like, for me, you know what I mean? But, like, I do appreciate how different it is compared to other Pixar movies. Like, whatever you think about Bean Mouth, the way it's animated is very unique. And I think you can draw a pretty straight line from this movie to, like, K-pop Demon Hunters. Like, they definitely share a lot of visual DNA, you know what I'm saying? I feel like this movie was kind of on the ground floor of, like, what we have now in terms of, like Asian K-pop media stuff, you know?
The main characters in Turning Red are not Korean, they're Chinese, by the way. It's just such a hilarious oversight, in my opinion.
Regular, overnight, scented, unscented, thin, ultra thin, ultra thin.
You know, I do think it's kind of funny how girls complain about, like, why do you guys think we just sit around talking about our periods all the time? Like, that's so stupid. But then, like, this movie comes out and they're like, oh wow, finally a movie about periods. I'm gonna watch it 5 times in a row.
The movie's about periods. It's about a girl going through puberty. Obviously, periods are gonna be, like, a part of that. So there's this one scene here where she's turned into the big panda thing, and the mums come over, and the mums, like, trying to show the periods and shit, like, teach her about them in, like, a healthy manner, I guess. So obviously, there are elements of periods in the film. Obviously, it's a film about puberty. But Alex just takes that and goes, that's what the whole film must be about then. But then, at the end, he's like, no, this film was actually about generational trauma, but they only spend 2 minutes on it, so it was shallow. Hang on, wait, I think I completely missed that comment he just made about women, the generalization? Is that what he thinks girls talk about on the regular? Does Alex Myers think that girls genuinely sit around talking about how they think men talk about their periods all the time? I mean, I guess I wouldn't know, but I would assume there's a lot more to your conversations than that. I want to get this generational trauma bit here because it's just like a complete lack of media literacy. And because this is one thing that'll run in all the movies that I'm about to show you him talking about, by the way, is that the lack of media literacy and understanding children's films, it means that the Obsession, he never had a chance with Obsession. Because Obsession isn't the most nuanced or complicated or difficult to understand film in the world. It really isn't. Like, it isn't that hard to understand. There's only this much of a conversation because it has become so popular and a lot of people, you know, are being exposed to it. But there are movies more complex and, you know, on the same level, quality-wise, as Obsession that come out all the time. They just don't stir up nearly as much conversation because of a variety of different factors, right? Like, Obsession was like this perfect mix of both quality and conversation starters and like meminess and also like potential to become viral online, and the director was young. It was like a perfect mix of things that just made it incredibly popular. And also like the very sensitive subject matter as well, for sure. However, despite that, it is definitely more nuanced and more complex and a little bit more morally ambiguous, I would say, than your average Disney or DreamWorks film, right? However, as you're about to see, Alex Myers can barely even understand a DreamWorks or Pixar film. So when he tries to view Obsession through the same lens as the one that he fucked like every Pixar film up with, it makes a whole lot of sense why it went down so terribly. Also, just a wee side note, I'm just realizing now that he thinks that all women talk about is that men are obsessed with periods or whatever, but in this video, he is genuinely obsessed with the concept of periods. He brings it up like every 30 seconds. It's like all he ever talks about. That is his go-to punchline. That's the follow-through of this whole video.
And like finally right here at the end, we get like the real point of this movie, which is, you know, generational trauma or whatever. But they only give it like a solid 2 minutes of screen time. I feel like we could maybe unpack this a little more, you know, since this is like what the entire movie is actually about.
Just to be clear, I didn't like Turning Red. I thought it was boring as hell. But even though I like really didn't enjoy it. It was very obvious what they were going for. The red panda is the generational trauma. It's the whole movie. It's not the last 2 minutes. Mei learning to, like, accept her panda self was her breaking the cycle of generational trauma and refusing to pass it down to her offspring. It's not a complicated idea, like, it really isn't at all. But this is a big issue with Alex Myers' content, by the way, and this will continue to go. I don't think this will be I don't think this will change as he keeps uploading videos, which I think he will, by the way. And it's not even something I'm necessarily mad at either. I said this before, I said this in my last video. If he just keeps uploading, they'll get hundreds of thousands of views, he will be just fine. But one issue that he has with his style of video or comedy or writing or whatever you want to call it is that because he is, and you know what, I said this in my last video, I got a lot of shit for it, I called him a children's channel. Or like a channel that children watch. I still stand by that. As much as people are saying, no, his content's for adults. He tells like dirty jokes and he swears every now and then. So he's like not a kid. He's a kid's channel. His audience is primarily going to be children. The jokes that he tells just aren't going to be, they're not funny for most adults. It's a kid's channel. I'm sorry. I can't really see it as anything more or less than a kid's channel. Yeah, I'm sure there are like some young adults in that enjoy it or watch it sort of mindlessly, but it is a kid's channel. And part of the issue with that is that every movie he watches, he tries to pin every theme, no matter how complex or well done it is, into like a very small and narrowly spaced cliche, because in his mind that works to produce a better joke. So by reducing the entire concept of Turning Red to haha, this movie's about periods, that's like his version of humor, I guess. That's like him trying to make the video funny, because if he actually talks about the film in like a critical lens, or attempts to at least, which we know he's like incapable of, it wouldn't really be a funny video, it'd just be a really bad review. Unfortunately, in my opinion, all it ends up doing is giving us both a bad review and a horrendously unfunny video. I want to talk about his coverage of the Zootopia movies next, because I've not seen anyone else talk about them. And also, because the Zootopia movies have like, sort of racial commentary, I thought it'd be really interesting to see what he thought of all that. Because, like, let's be real here. I'm sure you've all seen Zootopia and Zootopia 2. The commentary is very fucking on the nose. Like, it is not complicated at all. If anything, it's like a big issue with the first one specifically, is that it's so on the nose and blatant about it. Like, it's not subtle at all. It's almost like annoyingly in your face. But regardless, he still doesn't really get it. But oh my god, his video on Zootopia 2 specifically, Jesus Christ, I am dying to get into that with you. Because I actually, you know what? No, we'll get to it when we get to it. But before that, I do want to show you another Turning Red review, just as a wee detour. Because believe it or not, that Turning Red review that Alex Myers made is nowhere near the worst Turning Red review on the internet. There's a creator on YouTube, very similar to Alex Myers, by the way, called The Mysterious Mr. Enter. Just like Alex Myers, he is a grown man who makes videos only on like children's content and like children's cartoons, basically. Give a wee scroll through his most popular videos, you'll know what I mean. Here we go, just doing that. You can pause at any point. These are all like children's stuff. To be fair, there's like some Family Guy in that here as well, but you know, this guy's very famous for covering children's cartoons. Which, by the way, that's another bit of shit I got in my last video, was saying that like he covers children's content and children's movies that don't have much substance to them. I want to clarify real quick that that doesn't make them bad movies. Like Toy Story being a little bit shallow so it's easier for children to understand doesn't make it bad. I love Toy Story. I love those Pixar. I love, you know, the old Pixar films. I think they're great. Even some of the newer like Disney films. I think Zootopia 2 was legitimately a fucking really good film. But I can also acknowledge that it's still a children's film. I'm not saying that there's nothing to talk about and that there's no substance whatsoever in any of these movies. All I am saying is that it's a little bit annoying when people who exclusively watch children's films act as though they are the deepest, most insightful bits of media that are like on the market, if that makes sense. It's like you don't know half of what cinema has to offer. And I know I sound like a pretentious twat saying that, but we don't need to talk about that. That's not what this video is about. But anyway, again, back to this detour. Mysterious Mr. Enter made a video on Turning Red, and one of his criticisms was that it was that, and I'm not lying about this at all. I'm going to play you the clip so you know I'm telling the truth. One of his criticisms was that the movie takes place in 2002, which was a year after 9/11, but there's not enough mention of 9/11 in the Turning Red movie. He says we don't see the societal impact of the September 11 terrorist attacks in Turning Red. No, but I just, like, look, I know this is like a little off topic, but it is a great moral lesson because it teaches us that no matter how bad someone is, how fucking horrible or media illiterate they are, there's always some bloke out there who's 100 times worse.
And that's partially because there's an elephant in the room that you do have to realize if you want to say, golly geez, let's set this film in 2002 for no reason.
Of course, the elephant in the room, there's a huge elephant in the room that everyone needs to acknowledge. I'm sure this was on the forefront of everyone's mind as they are watching this film.
The film takes place less than a year after the September 11th terrorist attacks. I bring this up because it radically altered the culture of the time, in ways that make this movie feel exceptionally ignorant of the time. Even though literally the only reason I can comprehend that this movie is set explicitly in 2002 is because the director grew up in that exact year. Yes, this film takes place in Canada, not the United States, but all over the Western world. Canada, America, the UK, much of Europe. People were paranoid because 9/11 wasn't the only terror attack that had happened. It was the major theme of the decade.
What is he talking about? What the fuck is he talking about? What is he saying? I fucking love this video. This video is like years. It came out as soon as Turning Red did. I have been laughing about this video just in my own mind for years now. I think it is hilarious.
I mean, I can understand not wanting everyone to be so fearful, as that goes against the tone that the movie is trying to establish. But then you have very awkward moments if you actually were there and you do actually remember the time period. Like, the moment with Ming, this strange adult standing outside the school with a box. An adult that no one wants to account for, completely trying to obscure her appearance and getting attention of the kids in the school. In real world 2002, she wouldn't just be confronted by the school security guard. She would be tackled by the police and hauled in. Like, here's the thing.
Okay, you know what? I'm not gonna play the rest of this. This is not what the video's about, but like, I had to show it to you. Because I've been keeping this held in for years now. I just have to just splurge. Just the idea that like, he can suspend disbelief for the 13-year-old girl turning into a red panda, but he can't accept that the terrorist attacks aren't canon in the Turning Red universe, maybe. Honestly, there's something about these grown men that cover children's content. There's something about them. So they all make they make such shit content because they don't understand film, which is why they're only able to cover children's movies, because the second they go over something like Obsession, they get exposed for the fucking frauds that they are. Okay, now let's go over the Zootopia stuff. I've not got as much to say about his Zootopia 1 review, but Zootopia 2, that's where the juicy shit comes into play. There are some wee things, though, that he doesn't understand that really make me question why anyone took him seriously to begin with, though.
Being the first rabbit officer means, like, no one really takes her seriously, because, like, fear is not the emotion I would have seeing her in this outfit.
It's something he does a lot in both reviews, by the way. He's like, he thirsts over this, like, rabbit, which I guess you can make of that what you will. I find it weird as fuck, personally.
Ooh, you probably didn't know, but a bunny can call another bunny cute, but when other animals do it, it's a little...
Hey, wow, that's our word. You guys can't say it, okay? No, hey, listen, it's fine. I dated a rabbit in college once. I got invited to the barbecue. I filled out my point card. I can say it now.
So obviously he gets, right, that little bit of commentary there because it's the most obvious fucking thing in the world. But then he can't apply it to another really obvious part later on in the film as well. Because Judy, despite being a part of, like, this oppressed group, I guess, and being, like, ultra progressive and all this shit, right? Still falls victim to many of the pitfalls of racism that many marginalized groups do fall to. It's like how a white woman, still being, you know, oppressed as a woman, can have little bits of racism that seep through the cracks, or they have blind spots too. Judy is the exact same way. So despite being progressive and thinking that she is, like, immune to it all, she still shows very obvious prejudice to Nick later, like earlier, like very, very soon after this scene. And Alex just doesn't see that at all.
You know, it burns me up to see folks with such backward attitudes toward foxes. I just want to say you're a great dad and just a real articulate fella.
However, right after this,
and there's just nothing, like, there's nothing said about that other than, like, what, him looking strangely? And it's like, no, man, you don't get it. You don't understand what they're doing there when it's so obvious. It's like if a white guy goes up to a black person and goes, oh, wow, you know what? You're really, like, well-spoken. Yeah, it's really weird. Like, I just wasn't... people don't really expect that from people like you, but you're really articulate. Like, she literally says you're articulate. It's the whole thing of like, she's trying so hard to be not racist that she ends up being prejudiced. And that's like a big part of the film that leads to them falling out right before the third act. Alex doesn't get that either, though. Instead, he chooses to make another joke about Judy's asshole.
And that'll be fine. I really am just a dumb bunny. I really am just a dumb bunny.
Now, this scene is clearly composed in such a way to remind us of the innocence of youth and the passage of time with how the bridge moves over their heads in this direction. And the most important takeaway from this masterfully composed shot is that Judy's badonk do be looking pretty thick.
And that's like all we get there. But then there's his actual analysis of the themes of race in the film. And again, he just doesn't get it. This is not me calling him a racist, by the way, or saying that he like doesn't understand racism specifically, but I'm saying he definitely doesn't have the fucking brain power to understand a children's film's depiction of racism. So once again, when he tries to tackle like themes of SA in a film like Obsession, that's why he falls flat so badly. I'll show you what I mean. This is the bit here.
Here's where things start to kind of take a bit of a turn.
What can you tell us about the animals that went savage?
Oh, all we know is that they are all members of the predator family. May have something to do with biology. You know, something in their DNA.
You know, I'm sorry, just a quick little aside here. But I always find these allegories for like racism or homophobia or whatever in these kinds of movies to be like so funny. You know, it's like their DNA makes them predisposed to become feral animals, or like how the X-Men have superpowers, which is exactly the same as being gay. Like, I'm not trying to be purposely obtuse here. I totally get it. It's just a metaphor. Like, it just cracks me up whenever they're like, hey guys, we gotta stop being so close-minded and live in harmony with these people who can shoot laser tornadoes. This allegory only works for humans if being a minority is like a magical thing. Like if black people could turn into werewolves. But like in this movie, predator animals literally did used to be hunting, killing machines, right? And now everyone's scared that they're gonna like go back to that. But like this does not hold up to any real world application, because like it's not like as if black people used to be wizards or something. You know what I mean? I'm worried that I'm not being clear enough for like the 15-year-olds in the comments. So what I'm trying to say is like we have these movies where people have a very understandable reason to be afraid of a certain group. You know, like they can shoot fire, or they have laser eyes, or they're 50 times bigger and have giant claws, or they have to eat brains or whatever. And so understandably, people are very uncomfortable being around them. But we're supposed to see this and be like, wow, just like black people. And like, I'm pretty sure that black people, gay people, trans people, whoever, like they very much do not do these things, you know? And like people's real life fear of them is based on nothing, right? But then we have these movies where it's like, hey guys, deep down, we're all the same at heart. And like, yeah, sure, you're not wrong, but this dude's got machine guns for hands.
So I understand what he's trying to say here, and to an extent it makes sense, because obviously, but the film isn't going for a one-to-one comparison. Obviously. But it's also very important to understand that people don't hate minority groups or black people or gay people based on nothing. You know, racist people tend to be racist a lot of the time because they're uneducated, and people of color are being used as scapegoats for the problems that, you know, are taking place in said country. So immigrants, for example, are scapegoated and blamed for, you know, crime or housing or anything along those lines, right? And then there's propaganda, and the leaders tell you certain things about them. They lie, right? There's lies everywhere. And that leads to a lot of racism. It's not based on nothing. That is a really, really dangerous misunderstanding, in my opinion. It's a very, like, reductionist view that is very unproductive and does not get us anywhere. We have to understand why people think the way that they do so that we can fix the problem. Because that's exactly what happens in Zootopia, right? The predators are not like that biologically anymore, right? They have fish and they have bugs and that they can like live. But they are being drugged and then being used as a scapegoat for all of Zootopia's problems, despite only making up 10% of the population. Kinda similar to how transgender people, despite making up only 1% of the population, are being blamed for so much of the violent crime, right? They're being scapegoated for so much of the violence in America. It's not a very complicated analogy. It's not complicated metaphor at all, in my opinion. And while, yeah, it is like the whole predator thing and them being like huge and teething and like have claws and breathing fire and all this shit is definitely on the nose and unrealistic and can be seen as like well, this has nothing to do with oppressed people in real life. And that is true to an extent again. However, not universal. Like, I wouldn't be so quick to immediately dismiss that. Like, there were elements of cannibalism in like very old Native American tribes. However, you would think, you know, it's a lot more based on how colonizers and settlers who, you know, invaded and stole the land emphasized this element of cannibalism and made it seem as though it was a lot more widespread, a lot more normalized than it actually was, to scaremonger people and make them think that Native Americans are a lot scarier and less accepting and less worthy of the land, I guess, than they are. So yeah, it's not a one-to-one direct comparison, but that doesn't make the commentary or the metaphor shit or not worth looking at or listening to. It just means that it's being a bit hyperbolic. And if you really can't see that, like if you really can't see that in a children's film, that really isn't, it's so on the nose. Like it's practically beating you in the fucking face with how obvious it is. And I don't know how, I honestly don't know how he's been doing this for so long. But it gets so much worse, dude. Because his Zootopia 2, by the way, this is important, by the way, because I really liked Zootopia 2. I thought it was significantly better than the first one. And as someone who's been criticized for like being too negative about these children's films, I was very surprised by how much I enjoyed Zootopia 2. Alex disagrees with me though, however. He says, please enjoy your Disney slop, right? He hated this film. He thinks it was complete slop. But when you watch his review, it's very obvious that he came into the film with this predetermined idea that it was slop and is then attributing every aspect of the movie to this, again, preconceived notion that he has already come up with, essentially. And it's very obvious that that's what's happening here. And it's just incredibly sloppy for a channel that is, like, allegedly high quality and it has animation in that. It's not high quality, though. It is a slop channel. It just has animated characters, and that gives the illusion of, you know, work or quality. But one thing I did sort of clock watching a bunch of his content is that pretty much every frame is like a reused frame from a previous video, which I'm not even criticizing necessarily. Like, he uploads every couple of days. You cannot make animations that quickly. But I'm just making the point that this is not too many steps removed from a slop channel, which there's nothing wrong with, by the way. And slop is subjective and everything, you know, you get the idea. So I'm going to do a little bit more of an in-depth analysis of his Zootopia 2 video, both in terms of like the commentary, like the racial commentary, but also just his lack of understanding for children's media in general.
So in the first movie, the entire shtick is that no one takes Judy seriously because of her insane hip-to-waist ratio, but also she's a prey animal and a bunny specifically. She overcompensates a lot, which is one of the core themes of like the entire movie.
You're awesome, Judy.
Yeah, that Gideon Gray doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, he was right about one thing. I don't know when to quit.
But then they saved the world or whatever, and here we are 1 week later, they're just still the underdogs? Judy is still trying to prove herself? Aren't you glad you waited almost 10 years for this?
I get, like, I just don't understand how you are unable to even conceive that when someone who isn't known for doing a certain job gets into the job and is, like, extremely famous, yeah, there's kind of a lot of pressure on them. Because now, if Judy fucks up, that is going to reflect badly on all of the other bunnies, or all the other people, all the other members of the minority group that she is a part of, right? There is this pressure on her specifically. People don't permanently resolve a lifelong complex just because they succeeded once. If anything, that sometimes makes it a lot worse. Then he has like some really weird takes about the humor, and this is why I think he wanted to hate this film going into it.
The jokes in this movie are so freaking stupid. Like they're not even jokes. It's just like, okay, so almost every joke can be put into two categories. One is where like someone will just quote a movie randomly for no reason. You know those YouTube videos where like the joke is just them playing a meme video or like a movie clip of someone who just says the same thing they just said? I said a sentence and Jerry Seinfeld said the same sentence. And like that's the entire joke. And the second category of joke in this movie is like the most Minions level slapstick. Now, of course, the first movie also has some slapstick, and it also has like a big Godfather reference, but the second movie just does all of this 5 times more than they should.
So I mean, I just disagree. I guess you'll have to have watched the film and have an opinion on it, if, like, in order to come up with an opinion on this opinion, I guess. Say opinion again, fuck me, Jesse. But I just disagree. I think the humor worked a lot better in the second film. This is just pure movie stuff, not even like a bad racial take or commentary thing. I just think he's wrong here. And also, fuck you. Again, I was watching all this content. There are some dumb movies that he thought was really, he loves the Despicable Me. He loves the first Despicable Me film, which isn't like a shit film, I guess, but like, I just don't see how you can criticize this movie here for having shit humor, but then praise Despicable Me. But whatever, right? That one's a little nitpicky, sure. This is where some of, like, the racial shit comes in, though. And again, I'm not calling Alex a racist, just to be clear. I'm just saying that his lack of understanding for a children's movie's portrayal of racism is very strange and disappointing. I should make that as clear as I possibly can.
And so, once again, racism has been cured forever. The snakes move into Zootopia and everything is fine, like a week after they already cured racism. Incredible, these kids.
So is like a big criticism of the film is that it's just curing racism again, but they already cured racism, so what does doing it again? There's nothing original or unique or interesting about them just curing it again. But it's such a different type of racism. Not only is it such a different type of racism, but it's obviously such a different type of racism. The first film was about overcoming prejudice in an already established population, ergo the predators. Whereas this one, again, if you've not seen Zootopia 2, this won't make much sense, but it's about like the reptiles and how they've been erased from history, right? And a portion of the population being completely erased and whitewashed from existence is very different from overcoming the prejudices of an already established population. Like, they're so different on so many levels, and they both have a place in each of these films, right? Like, as in either one of those themes is worthy of an entire movie predicated upon it. It's not just one type of racism that you can make a movie on and then you just can't cover it ever again. But this is the thing, he doesn't get this. He doesn't understand what the movie's fucking going for. His content is just, it's so shit. Like, he's so shit. Like, man's shit in it. Like, even though the entire point of the film is that the reptiles have been erased from existence, one of his big complaints is that the reptiles aren't in the film enough.
For a Disney movie mostly aimed at kids, like Zootopia 1 is incredibly dark and mature, but Zootopia 2, that all just went way out the window. Like, in watching this movie, we ourselves learn almost nothing about reptiles. Gary's the only reptile we really meet, and he's barely even in the movie. He's just this like one-dimensional, happy little snake boy who loves giving hugs. And then there's like the speakeasy part, and that's it. This movie's supposed to be about reptiles, but they're barely even in it.
So yeah, that's the fucking point! That's the point! They're barely in it, despite having, like, essentially founded Zootopia. In terms of Gary not being developed enough, yeah, there's merit to that criticism, sure. But he also needs to understand that his argument only works to a very limited extent, because a lot of the absence of reptiles is clearly intentional, in my opinion. But here's where his positions get, like, really, really difficult to reconcile, in my opinion.
Or like the really pivotal scene when Judy sees that the fox kid grew up to be like a peaceful gardener, you know what I mean? But then the entire plot of the second movie hinges on this idea that lynxes are territorial animals by nature, and that's why they screwed over the reptiles. Isn't the entire point of this world that they don't live by instinct anymore? And it makes them such corny villains too, because like Bellwether's motivation was directly tied to the socioeconomic system of Zootopia itself. But then the Lynxleys are doing this because that's just what lynxes do, I guess.
No, it's not what lynxes just do. That's him like misinterpreting a line from Mr. Big at one point, because that's like a quote from him at some point in the film. It's just what lynxleys do, they're territorial. But you're not meant to take that one throwaway line as like an objective biological explanation. The whole series is about questioning these species-based claims. But the biggest issue here is that his reading of the first film that we spoke about earlier, like his whole rant about how it wasn't an accurate depiction of people of color in real life, completely contradicts this point that he's making here. And that's why I think he went into this film wanting to hate it, which is like a huge oversight as someone who covers films for a living. So he says in this video here that the first movie already established that animals could move past their instincts, right? They're beyond their instincts. However, in that first review, he was also arguing that the entire metaphor was compromised because these species genuinely do possess claws and danger and like physical power and hunting prey. Right? Those physical traits aren't being acknowledged enough and it's being treated too much like a one-to-one comparison. But then here, he's complaining that the species characteristics are being acknowledged at all. The films never at any point claim that evolution erases every species trait, right? Elephants are still huge, foxes still possess certain senses, the sloths still move really slow, the polar bears are extremely powerful, the rabbits fuck a lot and reproduce super quickly. What civilization has supposedly overcome in these films is the idea that these traits morally determine what somebody is destined to turn into, morally. So in the same way that the fox is like predispositioned to be sly and cunning, but doesn't need to be a con man, a lynx can possess territorial instincts without being morally destined to steal land. The entire point of the franchise is that biology, history, and culture can influence people without completely determining them. That's like kind of what Zootopia, both of the movies, are about. But not only does he not get it, but it's like he's just forgotten what his complaints are with the allegory in the first film, because I think the second one does a much better job. But the two reviews contradict each other a lot. He doesn't get the villain either, like the big twist villain, Porbert.
This villain twist is so pointlessly stupid. Like, am I supposed to care about this character who's barely been in the movie until now? The same with Gary, where it's like, they're very, very briefly introduced to us near the beginning of the movie, and then we basically never see them again until like the very end of Act 2. And then 15 minutes later, it's like, huzzah, I am the bad guy.
Please, you can be different than your family.
I don't want to be different.
Like, my dude, I don't even know you. Now, if we compare this to the first movie, where Bellwether was a pretty constant character from the beginning, now she's important because she's also a prey animal, just like Judy, and she was one of the only people who seemed to, like, support her. But then, psych, it was her master plan the whole time. But, like, in this movie, it's like, we don't know anything about this guy. He has no real connection to Nick or Judy until literally right now, so,
The thing is, how lame would it have been if we got, like, another villain who was also, like, prey, similar to Judy? Like, if that was the case, he'd be complaining that it was too similar to the first film. I think it makes sense that in the first film, we get like a prey animal using their victim status to trick people, as opposed to the second film where we have like someone higher in the food chain using their privilege as to like expel villainy, I guess. Or exude villainy, I think works better there. He doesn't need to have this close relationship with Judy to be a good or decent villain. Like, you have to have a bit better analysis or criticism than that. It doesn't make sense. And also, that's not what Porbert's really there for. He's obviously uncomfortable with the oppression and what the oppressive system that him and his privileged family were born into. Like, that wasn't all acting throughout the film. He's very much uncomfortable with it and saddened and doesn't feel as great about it as the rest of the Linksleys do. Judy naively thinks that because he's uncomfortable with the whole systemic oppression that they're on the same team. But ultimately it doesn't mean much because Porbert doesn't care enough about those systemic issues to actually separate himself from the privilege that he has. It's almost worse than being completely unaware of how oppressive you are to begin with, because he is fully aware of just how greedy and horrible his family is, but he's just too much of a coward to abstain out of fear of rejection, or like exclusion or isolation probably work better there. And again, this is something you see a lot in real life. You see a lot of very privileged people who display a sort of verbal uncomfortability or dismay with their positions, but don't actually really do anything about it. Like, they don't use said privileges for the greater good or to the benefit of the people they claim to care about, because they're too scared to. Because as much as they might be able to acknowledge how unfair their position is, they don't actually care enough to abstain or do anything about it. In my opinion, Judy is like projecting her own bravery onto Porbert, so it's a bit of a flaw with her character as well, but like an intentional flaw, not like a writing flaw, because she doesn't understand that private discomfort doesn't actually mean anything if it's not paired with public outrage. I don't know, me personally, I think Porbert was a way better villain than the fucking sheep who was extremely predictable. Just because Judy doesn't know them, it doesn't automatically make them bad, especially because his like institutional connection with the wider world is so much more emphasized. That's the big crux of this stuff, or the issues I had with these Zootopia reviews, but there's one more bit that I think really adds to the idea that he wanted to hate this film.
Zootopia 2, however, runs like on freaking Cocomelon logic. The snake's fanny pack just so happens to get caught on something that has a matchbox in it that just happens to be from a secret snake hideout that just happens to be located right where they accidentally shot out of the water pipe. Wow, isn't that something? Every plot point of the first movie felt earned. Like Judy and Nick were doing police detective work, you know? In this movie, everything important just falls in their lap for no reason. But hey, you made $1 trillion, so who cares?
It's just bollocks. Like, the first film had so much plot convenience as well. Judy just happens to encounter one of Nick's scams. The missing otter just happens to be photographed next to one of Nick's popsicles. The thief that Judy chases in that one chase scene just happens to be stealing one of the flowers used in the conspiracy. That tiny mouse she saves as well just happens to be the mob boss's daughter. And then Judy just happens to hear about the flowers when she returns home. Like, these fucking Pixar children's films do require at least a little bit of plot convenience just to get the movie going. And if you're okay, it's fine to criticize that. But if you're okay with it in the first film, and you're not okay with it in the second one, despite them being, like, similarly contrived, in my opinion, it just leads me to believe that he had already decided before even watching it or scripting the video that the sequel is frenetic nonsense. So now every callback just becomes random as opposed to constructed. You know, I could go on for so long, by the way. Like, I could go on for pretty much every one of his reviews. I don't think he's made one. I don't think I enjoyed one of those videos that I was having on in the background. But it was just these movies in particular, I was like, fuck, I could totally do another video on him. Because it was really annoying me, dude. Like, yeah, no fucking wonder the Obsession video was so bad. He can barely comprehend Zootopia. Alright, I do want to go over just two more. I won't go into these ones as much as the other two, but just because these ones annoyed me a little too. Because I love How to Train Your Dragon, so I thought, yeah, fuck it, I'll put this in the video. Because there's so much shit. And How to Train Your Dragon is so much simpler than Zootopia as well, which isn't even that complicated. But it's still, he just doesn't get it. Like, it's just so, like, just watch, because there's such simple shit here. It's almost, I feel like it's almost intentional. Like, he's intentionally being fucking obtuse.
Also, you know, this is back in like 2010, right? So this is during that time when like the coolest, hottest thing a girl could ever do is kind of be like a dude, you know? You know what I mean? Hey guys, I'm not like other girls. I work out and maintain my perfect figure and always have makeup on, but I don't have any of those pesky emotions like girly girls. The only emotions I have are cars and being low maintenance. Periods? What are those? Every month I just shoot out Magic the Gathering cards.
Astrid is like super emotional. It's like her biggest flaw. But also the point about, you know what, no, there's one more clip that shows that he just completely doesn't fucking understand. Like, I question whether or not he even watched the film. And this has to do with Astrid, by the way, so I'll get into it in just a sec.
So as you can probably imagine, everyone's really confused about why they all look so inbred, but also, how is it that Hiccup, of all people, seems to be winning every dragon challenge? The most upset of whomst is Astrid, who has a really big chip on her shoulder about all this for some reason.
See, it's the addition of the "for some reason." It's like, what the fuck? What do you mean for some reason? Are you watching the fucking film? You idiot. It's a children's film. Children know why. A fucking 5-year-old could tell you why Astrid has a chip on her shoulder. Astrid is like the embodiment. The whole point of Astrid's character is to show what Hiccup is essentially supposed to be. She's like the ideal product of Burke's value system. So her anger comes from her working her entire life to fit into this mold and be like seriously disciplined and committed and loyal, just for Hiccup to all of a sudden seemingly effortlessly just overcome her in every department. It's like, obviously, that's gonna piss her off a little bit. It's the for some, like, why would you even say for some, it wasn't funny. It wasn't a funny joke to say for some reason. All it does is tell me that you're a fucking moron. I feel like this guy could barely comprehend the fucking Teletubbies at this point. Because this is the most obvious. It just is. It's the most obvious thing in the world. How do you not get it? How do you not get why Astrid is annoyed? It's so fucking obvious! A few other things as well that mildly annoyed me about this review.
Like, what is this weirdly inspirational music for? Like, Hiccup's playing hopscotch on this little squiggle that Toothless drew, you know, and it's like, and that's how Hiccup finally learned how to crank that soldier boy. What is happening?
See, again, if you view the movie as just fucking, you know, this is a movie, it's a moving image, right? They're telling a story, and Toothless can't talk, so it's not as though they can chat to each other. The whole point is they have to depict the gaining of trust visually. So yeah, if you're a fucking dumbass, you'll see that and go, what, he's just moving around on a line, I don't understand, why is there music? But it's like, no, the movie is trying to show, it's like the first ever time that a human has respected a dragon's boundaries, and they show it really obviously by literally creating like a physical boundary that Hiccup has to maneuver around. And that is a genuinely triumphant moment in the film. If you're unable to see that, I just don't know what to tell you. Again, that's something that most 5-year-olds could understand about the film, even subconsciously. I really like How to Train Your Dragon. I love this film. I don't like any of the sequels, by the way, but it's just the original, I fucking love it. Okay, one last thing. Sorry, just one last thing. I was gonna move on, but there was one other thing that I remembered as well that really annoyed me. Because again, it's like, are you even watching the fucking film. It is genuinely, I feel as though he just wanted to ChatGPT and was like, can you explain How to Train Your Dragon in like 20 words? And then just based off his whole review or his whole video on that synopsis.
But anyway, so they end up enslaving Toothless and forcing him to show them where the dragon's nest is so they can finally rid the world of dragons once and for all. Well. Whoops. And so with the help of Toothless and some other dragons who are suddenly really cool with killing their mom, I guess.
See, again, it's not... What do you mean their mum? At what point in the film is it even slightly implied that there's like a motherly relationship or parental relationship between the big mega dragon and the fucking tiny wee ones? It's like, no, this isn't a relationship between mother and child. It's a relationship between slave master and slaves. Obviously, they're okay with fighting the fucking big... Like, come on, dude! Come on! I know it seems small and menial because it's a children's film. Why are you deeping it so much? But this fucking guy thought it would be a good idea to talk about obsession and like have a nuanced, weird, contrarian opinion. And he was like, you know what? People don't understand bear. So me, Alex Meyers, the fucking elite film critic who understands nuance and film and literacy, I'm gonna swoop in here and show everyone that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. It's like, dude, how fucking egotistical could you be to think that you, with your fucking shite knowledge of children's media, could swoop in and give a nuanced discussion about Bear and like try to justify him in a way that no one else ever has. Okay, last one. This was a film that was also covered in Crispy's Taverns, so I thought I'd go over it here as well. It's the Wreck-It Ralph review, which has become rather infamous. I've seen this one as well. I don't have anywhere near as much affection for it as How to Train Your Dragon or Zootopia even. This one was just like, it's fucking fine. It's a kid's film, innit? I rewatched all these films before this video just for the sake of research, and this was definitely the one that I enjoyed the least. No, that's a lie. Turning Red was the worst one. This one was the second worst. I didn't watch the fucking Monster High one, by the way. But again, even though this fucking Wreck-It Ralph was so substanceless, this is becoming a running theme. He still just doesn't understand it at all.
Never let it be said that I'm not a man of my word. The place is yours, Ralph. Enjoy.
I was just tired of living alone in the garbage.
Well, now you can live alone in the penthouse.
That's right, everybody. The moral of the story is don't want more out of life, okay? You should just learn to accept how things are. If you want a better, more fulfilling life, you're bad, actually, okay? What, you gonna ruin the status quo just like that? Think of the shareholders.
It's like, now, again, not only is that not the moral, but it's obviously not the moral of the film, you fucking mug. It's the way that Ralph tried to change the status quo that was the issue. He goes after this, like, banal, useless medal in another fucking universe that literally means nothing, and tries to become Felix, essentially. The status quo changes significantly by the end of the film. Like, he's accepted into the community, he's treated with respect now. There's like loads of other homeless game characters or whatever that are like introduced into the game. And he's now seen as like an equal with Felix or whatever bullshit was in the film, right? He's not learned to accept mistreatment, he's just learned to distinguish between accepting himself and forcing the world to confer worth through conventional signs of heroism like medals or gold or whatever. The moral is obviously you can improve your life, that's fine, but don't seek improvement via just becoming someone else. Like, how can you paint out what Ralph did as like a genuinely good thing and the movie is the one that got it wrong? Like, he did some horrible shit. He almost destroyed a whole game. He introduced like a cybug into the fucking candy world thing. He almost killed a bunch of people. He almost got everyone in the Niceland place killed. Like, he was doing objectively bad shit, man. It's like, it's so obvious. This is what I mean, though. Because of the style of channel he is, and the way that he tries to tell his jokes and his comedy, it all has to be boiled down to the most reductionist, simplistic, base level so that he can make a joke out of it. Because any amount of complexity is like not funny anymore. But if it's simple and dumb and easy to make fun of, then he can make a joke out of it. So he has to act as though the moral is a silly one or a shit one, because it's easier to make a funny video out of something that's really bad as opposed to making a funny video about something that is genuinely worthwhile or worth thinking about or actual good media. This is what he tried to do with Obsession, by the way. So he takes like a scene that's like a sexual assault scene, for example. You can't really turn that into a joke or turn that into something funny, so he reduces it to the most simplistic reductionist level of, the devil's tango, or spicy Latina having like a steamy makeout sesh or whatever. Because in his mind, that's like, yeah, I need to make this funny. And it's maybe not as big of a deal when he does it to these children's films. All it shows is that he doesn't fucking know what he's talking about, but it's not like necessarily harmful. But it all leads to the obsession video where, like, you know, it does become harmful. And you know what? For the other bits, I'm going to play the clips from Crispy Tavern's video directly, because I really would like you to go watch their video if you've not seen it already.
Thematically, it's pretty simple, but the twist works really well, and I remember being pretty wowed when I was a kid watching this movie. Alex, though, doesn't get it.
Turbo, the villain, is only in the movie for maybe like 4 minutes, and like these two plot threads have nothing to do with each other. Like, I have zero emotional investment in whatever this dude's all about. If, like, I don't know, let's say Ralph met Turbo earlier in the movie, and then Turbo was like, actually, villains are more important than heroes because no one wants to play a game with no challenge or whatever, right? That at least would tie into like the actual, you know, hero's journey that Ralph is going on. But as the movie is now, this dude just kind of shows up for a couple minutes at the very end for basically no reason.
It would be one thing to like misunderstand the themes of Turbo and Ralph and their relationship. However, does this guy like not understand that Turbo was King Candy the whole time? Like, you complained that Ralph didn't meet Turbo earlier in the film. Bro, he did.
You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you? You hit a guy with glasses. That's well played.
He met King Candy like multiple times throughout the movie. That was Turbo in disguise. And don't get me wrong, he also, of course, misunderstands the themes of the movie and how Turbo and Ralph are related. He thinks Turbo needs to be a villain in order to be connected with Ralph's story. Like, no, dude, what are you talking about? Ralph's story is about way more than that, as I just explained.
Yeah, he completely gets the themes wrong as well, right? The whole point of Turbo is that he shows what Ralph could have been, right? They both start with the same issue of not being accepted in their game, right? They're outcast, they're resentful and all this shit. And Ralph takes that and he turns it into something positive by the end of the film. Turbo takes that and he turns into like this deceitful, malicious, fucking resentful, bitter person that just wants to destroy everything, right? And it's very negative. That's like his point as again, I don't fucking like this film. I thought the twist, I disagree with him here. I think with Crispy, I thought the twist was whatever, but sure. I understood it, but I dislike it because I understood it almost. But at least I actually fucking understood it. Because Alex's thing about, well, if the villain came up to Ralph and said, villains are actually more important than heroes because there needs to be conflict, he wouldn't be he wouldn't be the antagonist then. He'd just be another good guy. There would be no movie if he was just a good guy with good morals, would there? Yeah, I've just found on the Reddit, by the way, that the confirmation that Alex and Kelsey weren't together anymore, and it is the fucking freeze frame from the Stranger Things video. By the way, there's a post from 6 months ago here that I found of people like saying that his content's getting worse as time goes on. I was subscribed for a few years, but unsubscribed sometime last year because I got a feeling his videos became mostly all debunking, all dunking rather, on whatever he watched for like not well thought out reasons, and I just couldn't enjoy them anymore. The best example I can think of is with Encanto. I'm honestly curious, does he ever like anything he watches? Even though I'm not subscribed, I still get some of his video recommended recently, and I saw the Heated Rivalry video, and I saw the same reason a lot of his videos started to irk me. I get when someone doesn't like something and they point out their reasons and they're valid, like plot holes or it's just not their vibe, but they at least understand what the movie's about. But in his case, sometimes the points come off like he barely even watched the thing, almost like he's more focused on making a joke, regardless of whether or not it's based on the actual critique. I don't know if it's just me or has anyone else felt this. This is so valid, by the way, because I feel the exact same way. And I think this is the issue, is that because he's making funny videos, he thinks that the way to be funny or comedic is to talk about the film in a negative fashion. If a film's really good, it's a lot harder to make a funny video talking about how good the film is. But if the film's really bad, it's a lot easier to dunk on it and make jokes surrounding it. So even if a film is really good, he almost has to talk about it as though it's a shit film, because it's a lot easier for him to make a quote-unquote funnier video doing that. And that sort of seeps into the obsession video as well. So I got a lot of comments here that were like, these are years ago, by the way, these comments. Oh my, finally my time has come. Alex Meyers is so weird. He makes me so uncomfortable sometimes because even though he's like 30, he keeps on making these weird incel-like comments about how he was weird to women and whatever. I understand it's like a joke, but like, has he done any reflecting on this? He's been married and divorced, so why does he always need to talk about his adolescence? He's involved in cinema sins, profiting off being a jerk instead of actual good criticism like they used to. I used to watch Alex Meyers once in a while, but just recently I was watching his Stranger Things video and he made a disgusting joke about Natalia Dryer's body. It really made me realize how he's misogynistic and incredibly immature, and his weird obsession with his high school creepiness. I'm really disappointed that he is so popular on YouTube. Yeah, that's one thing I did notice going through like my binge of his old content. Every video he talks about how like he had no friends in high school and he was like a loner and he hated high school and like all the girls didn't like him and shit. It is genuinely something that he brings up in almost every single fucking video. And it does get a little bit like, all right, man, you're a 38-year-old man, you know, 30 fucking, like, come on. Grow up. I want to see this Natalia Dryer's... What's this joke he made in the Stranger Things video, though? I can't watch every single Stranger Things video. You know what? I'm gonna find this fucking video. I'm gonna find this joke that he's talking about. Well, first of all, I've not seen Stranger Things. Who is Natalia Dyer? So I can find the point in the video. Natalia Dyer. Okay, not Dryer. Although I think I'm getting drier watching his content, so maybe they're talking about that. My last video was on Rahul Rai, by the way. I've never had so many comments from women talking about how dry they are in my life. Like, half the fucking comment section is just women talking about their vaginas. It's pretty spectacular to see. I can't blame them either. Like, fucking Rahul Rai, that was a whole can of worms. But yeah, with all that being said, that's pretty much the conclusion of my big deep dive into Alex Myers' content. Some stuff that people have been talking about, some stuff that just personally annoyed me as well. Bit of a different video for the channel, I understand that, but hopefully you enjoyed it regardless. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments, by the way, because I had fun. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun recording this one, actually, which is rare. Recently, it's been rough. But whatever, man. I'll catch you all in the next one. Yeah, fuck yeah. Bye.